the light.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Romancing Grenada, Carriacou and Petit Martinique. We are romancing Grenada today in the most exciting and unusual way with one of our own St. Andrews special, well, St. James La Digue area special, Mr. Delon Felix. Delon, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for accepting. I understand you're very, very busy. And co-hosting with me, I have my sister, Shermian, and Over. You know Shermian as Sharon, and you know Over as Over. And Andrea should be joining us later on. We're really excited to have you on. And I want to start by talking about, I don't want to take away from your glory right now because we're romancing with you, but I have to tell you congratulations. I think I've been searching to look for father, son. You're probably in the most elite group of Olympians, you and your son. I think I only saw an American father, son, who participated in 2 different Olympics, but they were in the same event. You and your son participated in the Olympics in different events. So I think I haven't yet. It could be out there that's I start that out there, but definitely for Grenada and maybe the Eastern Caribbean, the OECS, you are one of you're gone down in history. You've created history for us on many levels. So congratulations to you and your son for being both Grenada Olympians.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, I think it's a pleasure to be here. I'm quite humbled and pretty much excited to see you guys after such a long time. I'm happy to be able to, to share with you. And I think the initiative of having that program is a good one. Quite a lot has been lost through the years. That history has died down a bit. So to have something like that to educate people and let people know what the background of track and field is in Grenada, I think it's really, really good.
Yeah. Thank you. So I mentioned to you earlier, I'm going to start right away because everybody, where you are, the position where I know you grew up, you're sharing a few villages, and a few villages might want to claim you. So I ask you, are you from St. Albans? Are you from St. James? So where are you from? In St. Andrews?
Proud St. James guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Johnny Boss, but I mean Johnny Boss. Woe to Johnny Boss.
That's a whole book in itself.
And
the volume is gone. I'm not hearing.
About your age, I saw from my research, it said you were born in 1974.
Oh, that's correct.
I thought you were born much later than that, because I cannot remember you as a grown-up.
Because you left before he was a grown-up.
Yes, he was a little kid.
Little kid then, yeah.
Yeah, little legs, little skinny kid all the time. And then one day I heard, well, I won't even get it before Cindy gets there.
No, go ahead.
We just know he was little Delon running up and down. And then one day Oprah said, did you know Delon ran into column 1? I said, Delon, run? I didn't see running. I didn't see, because you were little. And then I started seeing you here with the bag and the starting ball. And I said, yeah, I could kind of see it. His legs, yeah. And then the rest is history.
See, Delon, but I was following you more closely than she was because she was older. So she wasn't in the in group, So I was the convent girl and we were following the Saass boys. So we already knew, right? But Delon went through some rapid growth spurts because I didn't think he was going to be that tall. So, but we knew he was into track. We knew from, maybe junior days, right? Because we were following, and I was the proud girl. Well, I didn't used to say I was from St. James. I said I was from La Digue. I think I was just at the cutoff. But I was just the proud girl that say I know him. They were neighbor. And I used to say they were family friends. Since we were really young, their mom and my mom have the same name. so I claimed you that way, Delon.
Okay, good.
Well, it was just a hop across the bridge for us, right?
Yeah.
And officially we're from Dique. And if we're going back historically, Delon, we were all, if we go back into the 1700s, we would have all been from the same village because all that land belonged to preference estate.
Right.
Okay.
We preference people. Okay.
So,
we people with preference. Come on.
Then Albans got cut off when somebody bought a portion, and then Decoy got cut off, and then Bellevue Estate bought the rest, and part of preference, state preference. So don't worry. And for us, even we have a bridge between us. I think Andrea's coming on, but we're starting very informally, and I apologize. It's because we love you so much, and we're so excited.
I'm so excited to see it.
To relive the moment, Delon. Last night I went on and looked at the 1990. So you represented Grenada in the world. You were a junior in 1992. You represented Grenada in the Olympics in Spain.
Mic is not. We're not hearing your mic, Delon.
You don't hear me?
Okay. It's.
You're in and out.
You hear me now?
Yes, better. Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that I did represent Grenada in the Olympics in 1992, but I also represented Grenada in World Junior Championships in Korea as well that same year.
Oh, wow.
That's what I noticed. And you did Olympics before you did junior championships. So you were a junior when you performed in the Olympics.
Wow.
I think I did Olympics like three weeks before I did the World Juniors.
Yeah. Your Olympics was July, and the World Juniors was in September. And your performance, the day you performed or the day you ran was I think August 5th. So yeah, you performing the senior event before the junior event.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But did you walk across the stage that day? Because I was looking to see who you were in the Grenada Olympiads, they call them, and I couldn't recognize if you were there.
I saw him.
You were there?
Why specifically you asking about?
Huh?
No, I missed the question. If I were where?
Did you walk across the stage, Olympic stage that day with the Grenada group?
Oh yeah. We mean the match pass and all that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I couldn't
did.
recognize
In fact,
you.
if you looked at the Olympics, it was, I think, we had about 5 participants. It was myself, Eugene Licorice, Charmaine, Ross. I think there was a guy in him. I forget his name.
Jason Chatter. Was Jason Chatter there that year?
No, Jason.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a guy named Gabriel. I think it was Simeon Gabriel, and I don't know who else, somebody else. But in the World Juniors, I was the only Grenadian who qualified. So it was only myself and the coach that went to Korea in the World Juniors. That was an amazing experience again. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. Congratulations for that.
Yeah.
And,
I have a question for you, though.
Sorry, I'd like to welcome Andrea, Sarai Jones York.
Hi,
Good
Andrea.
morning, darling.
How are you, sir?
Are you guys hearing each other?
Yes.
Yeah, I can hear him just fine.
Okay.
I have a question for you, Delon. Should I wait for you, Cindy Ann, or should I?
Go ahead.
Okay, so you were junior participant in the junior world event and the Olympic. What sort of training did you have in Grenada that would have, outside of Saass, that would have prepared you for doing such a being prepared to do those 2 games in the same year? What Grenadian national program or whatever, if there was any?
What happens is that once you qualify for the international games, you then selected and start to do training with the national coach. So before those events, you just do your regular training with your regular coach in your parish. Normally before the major games, they have what you call time trials. So once you have time trials and you qualify, then you're selected to start to train the national coach, who is now going to set specific programs for you and guide you, make sure he gets you prepared before the games that you're going to participate in.
Okay, and now post the games, because they are going to be in the next 4 years another Olympic, and you're pretty young then. How do they keep you prepared for and mentally ready for the next Olympic? Because you're still a junior, so you have a lot of running years. What happens after that? What's the program after that? When you return, you did well, your timing was great. So they say, okay,
Well, I think that's one of my concerns right now with regards to where I think from association standpoint, a lot more can be done because is at that stage you then need to harness the athlete and guide them in terms of their continuous training, their nutrition, and all of that. But I think most times the ball is dropped thereafter. You as an athlete has to be disciplined to do what you need to do to continue on your own. Most times, nobody's there to support you thereafter. Nobody is guiding you. Nobody is giving you mental, support. And I think that saddens me a bit because I've always said that if from government standpoint, you have the sporting association, recognize athletes with that potential and talent, and you bring them to a stage where you can provide a program to support them for the next 4 years and guide them in terms of the nutrition, the training, and giving them that kind of support, then we're good to go. I mean, what tends to happen now is that everybody is happy to get on the bandwagon when he or she does well.
yeah.
What happens behind the scene? Nobody knows the story. What happens to the build-up? How much work is put into it? Be made. Some parents have to make sacrifices to provide for kids. Some kids have to also work and make sacrifices for themselves. And I think that is a major problem with sports in Grenada, and not just athletics, across the board. And I would be really, really happy to see that we have a change in that sort of, of what should I say? The curve.
Program, yeah.
And
ensuring that
strategy.
There's a lot more support is given to the athletes at a tender age who has that potential. Because I think is at that stage you can harness the athletes and guide them to really get them to accomplish bigger things.
Right, and allow them to have the vision to see we can do more and do better.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, because when you've been through school and you have that intense training in school and you're there to attend world championships, whatever the games, the competitions are. Once you've reached the highest level which you've reached, and Olympics, you perform there, you're out of school now, and you come back home, there's nothing for you. And I watch other international athletes who would perform 2 and 3 and 4 Olympics. Like, for example, we have Kareni now, but he's not stationed home. Right. And so that's how we get this continuation, this long-term effort from him. But if
I should interject here, one of the things that I from attending the Olympics and speaking to international athletes, like Michael Johnson and those guys, because obviously you're there with those guys, actually, competition with them, Roberto, Fernandez, and those guys. And they would say to you that, that the government would actually subsidize and pay them a salary. So they are now just training and performing for the country with the government subsidizing, the expenses and whatever, nutrition. So it's like you're in a better state of mind mentally. I'm saying sometimes, for us here in Grenada, that may not be a case. I don't know if the government can do something. So we can have even the private sector, businesses, adopting specific athletes and giving them that support, but that is not done. And that's what angers me a bit, because what happens is that the businesses then try to run to the athletes when they do well, because now you believe the athlete could do something.
Yeah.
Marketing. But why not latch onto that athlete at that tender age, supporting that athlete and help him become a gold medal Olympian, right? Or good athlete. So then you show that you contribute to the success of that athlete and not just try to get on when that athlete would have achieved something. Because I do believe that a a lot more athletes could accomplish a lot more if they're given that necessary support and push. If they could get it at the early age, because if you don't have parents that could give you that support and give you that help, then it means that you die at a young age and you kill the talent that you have. So as a country, as a sports association, I do believe that we have a lot of natural talent because people and the Ashton McSween, John Liquish, and those guys, we basically come through this because we just have natural potential. And I'm saying we've done a lot on our own with little or no help. And if we got a lot more support when it was necessary, then I think we would have done a lot better.
Delon?
One, I think too, I think there needs to be a national strategy, as you say, where the government, if the Ministry of Sports would harness or collaborate with the public sector, the private sector, sorry, so that they can create some association or something that could, yes, do what you say. But also, I think the responsibility sort of falls on schools like Saass who have the desire to win, because had Saass been maybe a Montrose school or in those days, good athletes would have just fall through the cracks. But because Saass had a desire to win or to do well, that your talents and Eugene and Ashton and so people were able to see that. But had there Saass been just another school who just didn't really, we just go with a kind of performance, your abilities will not have seen. So I think it's more than just a strategy after sports when you do well in sports, but something that's what they do in the gymnastics. You scout in the villages, look for children who have certain abilities, have them try out in the week like they do. I mean, this is Canada, but they do here, they have programs like certain banks run programs. RBC has a program where they just spot in different villages every month or every week. You go to a place, you do trials, and based on what your times are, they say, okay, you have potential, they take you out, and they continue in the program as early as maybe 7. Right. So Grenada is pretty small. So this would not be too hard to do because, there wouldn't be more than 500 children anytime. And so you have I wouldn't call any companies out who would use the athletes afterwards for the advertising, but let's invest in them before. And then actually you could follow maybe a better advertising story when you show how well your products do with them across the board over the years. So I think maybe now we can advocate for things like that, or hope this program advocates is an direct advocate for programs like these.
So I have a question. I came in pretty late and I'm very sorry, everybody. I had a late night. I just have one question. You talk about how we could scout for talent. And I was thinking more, well, we know how, I think the Grenadian government is very inept in prepping our athletes for anything big. We just like to draw when they get the win, we like to draw on that. But I'm thinking, what if we use like the Carifta games or one of those other Caribbean games and say, okay, since that Grenada does not have this, how should I say it? This money or whatever to help the athletes. How about if we do it from an OCS standpoint?
Mm-hmm. It's a good idea, but before we're getting too serious too quickly, and it's about romance. So we're
I'm just saying that's just one way we could.
You're almost at the breakup stage, you guys. So.
Romance has the romance and the courtship and everything else.
Yeah. Let's start with the ice cream licking and so on.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Delon a question that can romance us back into romancing. So Delon, it's gonna be 2 parts. Okay, so what age did you actually started getting serious in track? 1, and did you find there was a change where the opposite sex started recognizing you in school now?
Had to do that
or on the road in Grenville?
Well, from primary school, I don't know if you guys remember Lyman Spoon and the bag race and all of that.
Who could forget?
Things that brings me back to, because when I remember guys like Lydon and those guys from Methodist and the Devon George, those guys, these are guys that would motivate you. And those little those little events, the Lyman Spoon and the track events, those times motivated you as a young boy growing up just to win. You want to win.
Mm.
I think I started taking, sports a little bit more serious because in addition to that, you have to commend a lot of teachers in the primary school who would identify potential in myself and other young girls and would give us the support and encourage us to train and say, listen, you have potential, so you need to train harder.
Wow.
Back then you were winning, let's say, or you may win some containers. But I'm just saying, those days are nice days that I cherish and I hold on to because I remember those things. So I think from primary school, I really actually took sports very seriously because I had the light on Christopher guys encouraging us that, listen, you have the potential to do better and all of that. With regards to this second question, I think, it's just once you start, doing well in sports and you're winning and stuff like that, people generally is attracted to you, be it male, female. Now, obviously, you get more of the female attracted to you as you get a little bit older. You're young, you're all right, everybody's friend, blah, blah, blah. As you get older, everybody now wants to be close to you. And of course, even if they were not very close to you, they now become your best friend or your girlfriend. So I remember quite well after the announcement that I made it to the Olympics, I think 80% of the girls in Saass became my girlfriend because they were just saying that they were my girlfriend. Everybody just wanted to be affiliated with somebody who they feel accomplished a lot. So I think it's just a natural.
Yes, we are driven to excellence and performance. We are all driven to that. Everybody likes excellence. Even if we don't know how to get it out of ourselves, we like it in somebody else. Something you mentioned, Delon, you went to Methodist primary school in Grenville. And I think being used to that big track over there in Grenville helped you to see potential because you saw the athletes. We were from Paulino St. Anglican School and we had the rectory to run around. And so we had no vision of running, we just run around the rectory. So I think that again helped you a lot because now you saw athletes, quality athletes running in that arena and you saw speed and you appreciated speed and I'm winning and all those things. We just ran with ourselves down there and a few animals. So I think also the exposures like the goats and the stuff that were tied out in the park there.
We're not running with us.
They were not running with us, but they were they're running from us when we started running. So I think your exposure to that bigger field and arena at an early age allow you to see potentials, allow you to see what a 100-meter track was, allow you to test yourself on a 100-meter, like what feels like the wind behind your ears. So from an early age, you got that feeling and that sort of running in your blood. I can't remember the enzyme that's coursing through your blood now, but the one that makes you to give you the flight. Yes. Adrenaline. Yes. You know what it feels like to feel those goodness and those good hormones and wow, it feels good to run. And so it motivated you. So I think a good park, exposure to a good park for all children is a good example. Maybe even if your school doesn't do it, your parents could bring you to the park to run and they could see other people running and training and see what it is like. Oh, I see that's Eugene there. Oh, that's Gusham Springer. So I could run like them too. That was a good one.
I think if I should say here, I think I must say you're quite correct with regards to that because you mentioned earlier with regards to also the school that you go to, enhancing your performance and whatever, or your potential. And you alluded to Saass and Mount Rose. I take that point because if you have a school that does not have a good coach to give that guidance and supervision, then that is a problem. Now, the second point with regards to the rectory, which was a small field with cows, goats tied in the rectory and running around. I mean, this just shows where we come from. That's where we come from. So yes, obviously, facilities that you got to train under or compete under, I mean, it makes it difficult. So if you have a coach or somebody in school that could put together a proper program for the young athletes and guide them and bring them to a proper park where they could be exposed to a proper facility it would help, nurture that athlete faster and encourage them to pursue bigger dreams and bigger things. Because again, we all need role models. And I'm saying those guys were my role models then. I mean, I never recognized that I was going to get to that point, but, that far. Just getting to school, doing lineman spoon and going and run sports and winning a little 80 meters, 100 meters. When you recognize you have people pushing you and saying, hey, you can do better because you have the potential, or you recognize that somebody before you would have been doing bigger things. And then you recognize, okay, I need to be like this guy. And I want to be. You come to school and you heard about the Livingston Nelson and the Eugene Lindquist, and you hear those big names and you're wondering, well, whoa, you need to be like them. So I think role models really help, and a coach in different institutions. So irrespective of which school, if you have coaches, proper coaches in those schools, and you can identify the talent early. So irrespective of which school it is, because once you can identify the talent early, because I believe every one of us has born with something special. And I think some athletes are made, while I think most is born. You're born with a natural gift. So it's seen early in you. You need to recognize it yourself, or somebody sees you. And in most cases, at a young age, you don't recognize the potential you have when you're 10 and 9 and 11. Mm-hmm. Somebody has seen it for you. And then bring that out and say to you, hey, you have the potential to do better here, or excel in this. But here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to encourage you to do this. I'm going to get you a coach who's going to guide you and give you that support and nurture you. Yeah.
So let me just say, I agree with you all, but I just have to make a point and show me in. For example, in La Digue, they had the La Digue Colts, and I remember Evelyn Piet and those guys asking me to come run. I don't even know how he knew I did long distance running. I remember there was, Delon, you would have been too young. There used to be sports in the rectory, like with not just students. We had school, whole innocent sports with Dawn House and those things, but we also had community sports. Laddie Colts Youth Club had sports every year. And then you'd go to the Eastern Games when Eastern Games got thing. So I don't know. I didn't have Shamian's experience because I actually had people who said to me, I remember EP particularly asking me, should I come and ask your dad? Because as Adventists, our dad didn't want us to compete. As Adventists, normally we shouldn't compete, right? And I remember them asking me to run in a 5K or 10K that went to Eastern to St. George's. So Shamian was in the Brownies. I was not. So Shamian experience.
She was a little softer.
She was with the preppy girls, and
and you were running with the
for 1 week. I was in Brownie for 1 week. But what I'm saying is, okay, so EP citing you, but think of all of the Holy Innocent students who came from Union and all those.
No. I take your point, and I agree that Delon was in Methodist. I mean, just being to school in Grenville Tongue alone, it puts you at a different
exposure,
level, right?
Yeah.
You're up here, and you start expecting greater and greater things of yourself. You're seeing more competition. That you have a wider view of things versus us. Our role models were like. Carbon, those guys running track.
Yeah.
I mean,
and While Away.
While Away and those guys. Yeah.
But even Devon George, they all came from wherever they came from, but they were all in that one place where you could see that.
Can I want to say, well, I did run with the animals. No, I'm just joking. To Delon though, and I think what I think Sherman was trying to say, yes, Methodist, it comes with a different kind of privilege than going to Holy Innocents, for example. I mean, kids in Methodist went to school with shoes, right? That's another story. And there are kids in our school that didn't. And I felt when I was growing up, people in Ladig and stuff send their kids to school in Grenville because it was Grenville. So it comes with a different kind of status. So you were exposed to more. Even not necessarily academically, but you kind of already set on a different pedestal. But that's not the point I was going to make, Delon. I wanted to ask that because you made a few things you said after you ran, for example, in the Olympic, or you did intercall. Yes, everybody started recognizing you. All the girls, became your girlfriend. And I know being a celebrity in its own right comes with its challenges. How do you balance? Like, how do you, because there's a line between cocky and there's a line between humbleness and there's a line between it is appreciation. Yeah. So yes, I'm just happy to be here. So how do you balance both or all, or did you find it made you a different kind of way? Or were you your same self when you came back next week?
Right. Well, I mean, basically for me, it's about focus. But I'll tell you one thing though, high accomplished individuals, successful sports persons or whatever, people tend to see them as being cocky. But there's a confidence level that comes with it that causes you to be a winner or a winner. So the people at the top who excel need to be confident. And if you don't have that confidence, so that confidence could come across as being cocky, but it's not really cocky, because as a winner, as somebody who would have gone out there and excel, and you actually accomplish something, you just have a different height than everybody else. I mean, he's a little bit over the top, but I mean, I can understand his situation. I mean, a lot of people might think he's cocky, but I think it's just that confidence level helps you stay on a high, because you need to be on a high. And let me tell you what's even more difficult. When you get to the point where you have accomplished something and people see you as a number one, it means that it's 10 times harder to maintain that position. So you need to do everything possible to maintain that. And one of the greatest distractions to other athletes is that confidence level. So you boost yourself to a point where you make everybody else fear you, because you show them that you're on a high, because you want to stay on a high.
Yeah.
Instead of them coming and take your position, but you need to do whatever is necessary to remain on the high. So it's like staying there, being very confident, and you need to focus now and recognize you need to work 10 times harder to maintain that position. And at the same time, you want to remain humble, because you do what you're doing and you want people to see you and continue supporting you. And you don't want to come across as being cocky as people. It's really a thin line. It's really a thin line, because
it is a thin line.
It's a double-edged sword, basically. Good, bad, yeah.
But sorry, Cindy, and I don't want to, but I like Delon. You actually made some points that are good, because to be a track star, for example, you do have to have that sense of, I am the best, right? You always got to keep that in your mind to keep going.
Yeah.
So, and yet still you want to be humble when you come home to say, okay, guys, I appreciate all your support. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're humble within. Generally, you're humble. The fact is that confidence level needs to be there. So most times it's people's opinion, again, of what they think of you. But you as an individual know in your heart, it's not about being cocky. It's just you trying to be confident and stay focused and recognize you have a task at hand. Because if you up there performing, every time you go there, you want to win. And people have like that expectation of you. So you want to remain on that high. You want to stay focused. But to some people, it will come off as cocky. So, I mean, it is what it is. I always say to people, I always say to sports guys that, listen, do not allow people's opinion to become your reality, because what they think of you is not who you are. So you need to stay focused and do what you got to do.
Good words there, Delon. Powerful watchwords. So for the spectator looking on at you, the winner, they need to know that that's a winner. That's how winners behave, and not ascribe anything else to it, because it's, of course, it's our interpretation. Right. And so
just the winning attitude.
People, right. And so we would support the winning attitude, because we like it. Really, we do like it. We like a winner.
Yes.
And a lot of times it's jealousy. And that's one of the biggest thing you'd come across as an athlete. It's the naysayers are the people, that's all axiom we had in school: when the fox couldn't get at the grapes, they said it was sour. So even if you're being your normal, natural self, passing and saying hello to everybody, and because now you're afraid they're going to say you're cocky, you're just...
They'll say, watch him showing up, walking and say hi to everybody.
No, let's use the colloquial term, bragger.
But I have one, Delon. I bet you, and I mean, maybe no one came up to you, but just because I'm from Grenada, I know how we think. I bet you there's some guys that would say, I went to Methodist with him and I used to beat him. I beat him in a race in Methodist. That's what we think.
Yeah, but you get that all the time. I mean, I get that still. There's guys who would say to me that I beat you up in intercall, but I mean, jokingly, because they know they didn't. They was on match. I was on match. But I mean, they just say it to make themselves feel good. And of course, you encourage it just the same. Nothing wrong with that.
All right. On that note, Dylan, I'm going back to Methodist. Is there a race you want to rerun in Methodist?
Well, I think in Methodist, it was about a 60-meter dash. Yeah, those days was just a little, short races, and you just wanted to win it and get that glory. So I think the 60 meters, yeah.
So did you lose the 60 meters in Methodist at some point? Is that what I'm hearing?
No, I don't remember losing from the time I started competing.
Okay.
Oh, you don't remember? Okay.
That's a very politically correct statement. I don't remember. So if anybody can say, yes, you lose, say, I didn't remember.
Who would you like to rerun with? Who would you like to run a race with? In your old age now? No, you're not old. I'm just joking. But if you had to bring yourself back to 21, who would you like that you've never ran with? Who would you want to run with?
Oh boy, I don't know. I mean, I think the guys ahead of me that helped motivated me. I would have loved to, to run with them, like the Ash McSween and Leon Decotos and those guys. Yeah.
Internationally.
Okay.
I used to be watching those guys and be inspired by the performances. And all the Wayne McSween, all of those guys were really good. I mean, even today, I really applaud Wayne McSween for the work he's doing still with the kids and the youths in Grenada. And those are guys that you saw doing very well and you wanted to emulate and really be at their level as well. So for me, I would want to go, catch them on the track now and blaze them just for the fun of it.
And internationally, who would you like to run with?
Pardon me?
Internationally, who would you like to run with? Which international athletes?
Oh my goodness. I mean, internationally, the same Michael Johnson and those guys, back then they were much faster, but now you feel, now you have a different feeling.
But you have the experience too, right? And
yeah.
Maturity.
So I have a question. There's the games called the Masters Games with the old track stars like Michael Johnson, Carl Lewis. They have a game that they run every couple of years called the Masters. Would you ever think about representing Grenada in a race like that?
Yeah, and I think it's something like that. Of course, again, it needs to start from here. So I think what we need to do, and Cindy, and you could drive this from this program, we could start a Masters Games in Grenada. I think that would attract a nice, crowd, some attention. If we start a Masters Games in Grenada, then we can start to identify qualifiers from the Grenada's Masters Games, and then we look at the regional Masters Games, and thereafter we look at selection to go to the international Masters Games. But
all held in Grenada.
Pardon me?
No. I think you were thinking about that. I think you were.
I'm just saying. We're having our own Masters Games. We have the Karani Stadium. Only bad thing is we don't have a good hospital. So, but I'm just saying.
It's another topic. This is not this discussion.
No, I'm just saying we can have the Grenada International Masters Games every 3 years, every 4 years, whatever it is.
Okay, I think that maturation of how the program should go. I think, Delon, you had given that some thought, and I think now just to start writing down the nuts and bolts and and get it executed. I like that, Delon.
But hold on, Delon. I'm gonna be frank. It's a great idea.
Irva, it's fine.
I'm gonna be Irva. It's a really good idea. I've seen some of the athletes Cindy and interview. Great guys. We'll end it right there. However, maybe it's something you have to put in the making because, like, for example, here, and I know Andre's talking. Andre, you're talking about the Masters here, right? Because I know a lot of guys from Jamaica and stuff. They stayed, like I've seen old people in their 80s. They never stopped doing track.
Yeah, Marlon Naughty still runs.
Yes, they can pull out the Masters game. So I think it's an idea you have to pitch out there from now. So guys can start prepping themselves because I've seen, including myself who did track, a lot of us, we're not ready for the Masters game. So
maybe it's not you. Maybe it's more like the people who are Kirani and a few
because I've seen Cindians, some of her some of them are, but it's a really good idea though that I think, Dylan, yes, at this point, if you put it out there for the kids that are coming up, that after life, track after life, there's something else after intercall's done. After OECS games done, after you participate in the Olympics, whether you made it or not. So they continue running. They continue because a lot of us, you just stop and you have your kids, you get your career, you put on weight, you barely walk.
But I'll tell you what, more importantly is that it's a perfect way for elderly persons to maintain fitness. Now, for example, if I know I've got a games to look forward to after 50, that means I got to keep training. I got to keep trying to keep fit. Stay.
Yes.
So it helps that age group to stay fit to prepare for something bigger. Now, let me tell you the other thing. After you finish competing at a young age as an athlete, between your 20s, probably into your 30s, most people retire at 20-something, 30-something. Now, every time you go to intercourt games at age 40-something, 50-something, you get goosebumps because you want to do it again.
Again, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
I used to be doing this. And this guy remind me of myself. So I want to do it again. So you really feel passionate about it and you want to do it. And if there's an opportunity for you to do it, you want to go out there and do it. And the truth is, you feel like you go out there and beat the younger guys still.
The mind lies.
But Delon, I am with you, and I am absolutely we're gonna try and see how many athletes we can get together and pursue this idea. It is a marvelous idea, and to maintain our health too.
That's what I was going to say.
There are those that will want to compete in the Masters, but then there are those that just happy to be in the club, included in the club, and maintain their fitness level. I like the idea, Andrea. I like the idea you pitch, and Delon looks like he had taught it already before. Great minds think alike.
He stole that from me.
We should call the pasture in St. James Delon Felix Stadium Park. Sorry, the new one. I don't know it, but they should.
Oh, the capital, upper capital.
No, the one between.
No, the one between Miss
Ladig and St. James.
Oh, okay. But Delon just declared he's not from the Ladig. He's from St. James.
But he passes that route every day to go home. So, I mean, when he was younger, right?
I think he would pass too. When he was going to Methodist. All right, yes.
Yeah. But hold on, I have a little question for Delon, because he brought up, when you're sitting in intercourt. Delon, listen, I'm there too. I haven't run since I probably was 16, and I still think I could beat a lot of people. That's why we run outside on a lunchtime here. And I still think about who I beat in convent. But what I wanted to ask you, because your son's doing swimming, and just so you know, I didn't know that was your son. I just associate, I'm like, he's a D Felix. First I saw D Felix and I was like, okay, I wonder if that's related. I thought you guys were related, right? I'm like some cousin. And then I saw Darren, I'm like, oh, Delron, sorry. I was like, then I heard he's your son. So congrats on that. But what I wanted to ask you, because you still have the competitive edge. Have you ever challenged your son? I think I can beat you in swimming. Oh boy, let's go do a swimming race. Oh boy, meet daddy on the track. Do you have that kind of competitiveness with your son still?
No, I can tell you, when it comes to swimming, I'm not going to compete with him in swimming. I can tell you the flip side to that is that I try to encourage him to get into track. He started in primary school running, and then he said, Dad, I don't think I can do this, because he's actually taller than I am. So so he felt a little bit uncomfortable doing it. And I guess he tried it for the first 2-3 times. And, he's like, that is real child. So he didn't like the losing part of it. So he lost a couple of times and he felt that's not for him. So he ventured out in the pool, and then he started winning a little bit. And that's where he got the sweet side of victory. Once he started tasting that, he just keep pursuing swimming. And of course, from my background, knowing what it is, I just keep giving him the support. I mean, sending him regionally, internationally, and giving him the support that really got him the experience, really, excelled where he's at today.
I'm glad, because a lot of kids, when their parents are super athletes and he tried your sport, your field, and they would have just give up altogether. But because of you, he was able to transition into another event. And that's kudos to you. That's super, super wonderful. Yep. And here you are in our history books twice.
The Felix last name lives on.
Yeah.
Brings me to a point I was going to make when we spoke about the Masters, because, one of the key things to help nurture and grow young athletes is role models. Now, if kids recognize there are people who would have walked the walk and went through it and they were successful and they're still doing it, then you're motivating them to continue to do it, because now you have people who could give them the support. In addition to that, they themselves know when they arrive at that junction, there's something more for them to do. So they're motivated to continue doing it. And that's why I think being a role model is very important. I mean, naturally, just being to the Olympics, I think my son has basically and decided, listen, I want to do as good as Dad did or even better. And that would have helped him to keep pushing and do a lot by himself. Because those kids identify with something, set their own targets, and the rest is history. But you must set the platform as parents, as coaches, as supporters for those athletes. And once they see it, and that is set up for them right there, it really helps them move to different levels.
But that could go one or two ways. Like you're the father who was a track star, want your son to be a track, and you get so upset, you're so overmotivated to see yourself living in him that you frustrate him to the point because you should be, listen, you have it in your genes, boy. And then that would just make him, you know what, I'm not interested altogether. And he and you go separate ways because of that. So it was good enough that you would be able to see, listen, he's not good for this. Let's see, let me motivate him and support him in the next thing.
Because as parents, you need to allow your kids to have their own dreams. They must want, you must not want to live your life within your kids. So, I mean, that's something that people need to learn early. Do not push your kids to be a lawyer.
That's a good one.
A lawyer, a doctor. He or she might be saying to you, listen, that I want to be a manager in X company or whatever. I want to do engineering. Just support them in the area that they want to go. Mm-hmm. So when I tried sending him in the direction of athletics, and he wasn't interested. And then he jumped into swimming and he was happy with it, because at those ages, you're sending your kids to tennis, to swimming, to cricket, to football, whichever sport that he gravitates to, that he likes, that's where you think he's just leave it alone. And for me, I always believe people born with special talents. So what I try to do early in my kids' life is identify what are their strong points. Where can I really guide them? So I keep looking for that. So I think as parents, you need to look to see what the strength of your child is, because your child might be good with her hand, doing something with her hand, and not necessarily in sports. They might be good at a computer, something of the sort. So you need to identify that and just nurture the child in that direction.
Super role model. So, I like that. And I like that you say that we shouldn't be living our dreams to our children, because 99% of parents do that.
Yeah.
So hold on. I want to ask Delon a question, because we're talking a lot about, and just because, Delon, I do women empowerment, I'm going to ask because I know your daughter was on earlier on. So we talk about sons as a male athlete.
Right.
When you're growing up your daughters now, or your daughter, I don't know how many daughters you have.
Yeah.
Was it different for you? Did you want them to get into track too? Did you start that route? Did you say, you know what, do long jump? Or maybe, brown knee's fine. How differently do you treat them than how you would have treated your son?
Okay, so the truth is, I'm guilty, because I actually always wanted one of my kids to follow through in my footsteps with regards to sports. Because I tell people, I think athletic has caused me to be the competitive person that I am now. It has caused me to be a businessman who is aggressive all day, and I just want to succeed in everything I'm doing. And knock wood, thank God that everything I've ventured out into so far seems to have been working out.
Amen.
I've also encouraged my daughters more than ever to move into athletics. So my first daughter, actually, she really wasn't that kind of individual. I wanted to go there and run and expose her legs and blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. So she started swimming. In actual fact, she was better than my son when she just started. Mm-hmm. Like everything else, as she continued competing, it kind of fell by the way. It's just that she didn't keep up to it, so the performances was not there. When she started competing regionally, and so she went regional a couple of times, but obviously for some reason, you're pushing her, but I guess the child needs to be able to push themselves.
Intrinsically motivated, yes.
They need to be self-motivated. They need to be hungry. So if they're not self-motivated and hungry themselves, because again, you could feel that the pressure is coming on too much and you can't handle it, and you could back off, and it could affect your performance. So once I recognized that, I left it alone. And of course, you want your girls to do well, just as the boys.
Yeah.
And I just leave her alone, and that slide. So she continued to the point where she said, she had enough, and then she needed to focus in school. She went to SU, she did her accounts and finance, and she come out, and she finished there now, and she's happy. My other daughter, she started in sports doing very well in GJA. So she was winning, doing well, and at some point again, the little losing start coming in, and I guess
they got discouraged. They're like, forget it.
Got discouraged again, and then that fell off. So you try to a certain point, and you recognize that the child will hold on to it and is not doing as you want them to do. Mm-hmm. Kind of back up, because you don't want to be applying too much pressure on them at the time.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So all the fathers who are athletes, they should get 1 word, 2 words from you there, some counsel, wise counsel.
You know what? But I ain't gonna lie, Dylan, because okay, I mean, in my own right, I think I was a track star. Okay, I did track for content. However, I expected my daughter to love track because of her color too. Okay, so I expected her to love track. I expected her to do track. I expected because our family is really competitive, and we talk a lot about track. We talk a lot about how we used to run when we were younger. So when I signed up for track, I was shocked. You know, to this day, the parent like you, yes, you have to let it go sometimes. But still, I remember this other lady and I sitting there and the lady was from Jamaica and she said she did track. Because most Caribbean people, we did track in school. And she was telling me, she's like, how these kids, like how? Nobody motivated us as 8 to do track or 10. We had to run. We get up and ran bare feet if we needed to. Right. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, what is wrong with these kids? Man, we must take them to Grenada. So it's good that you know, as a parent, because I still, even if I let it go, but I hurt because in my mind, I'm like, wow, this child wouldn't even try. Like she's the slow, you know, not the fastest child on the track. So, and to me at 8 and 9 and 10, like you, I'm sure, lime and spoon, man, if I lost, I would die. I used to get up and go run Mount St. John, this guy and I at 5 and 4 in the morning. Now I'm thinking back, I'm like, geez, I was running with a guy at 4 in the morning in Mount St. John. So
Grenada was good.
Grenada was safe and good then, you know, and people weren't thinking those, you know, to hurt people and stuff. But I'm saying that it's really good on you. Yes, you, as a parent, you have to say, okay, you know what, that's not what they want to do. And though inside your little ego going, like, why? You know, I wasn't like that as a child. But it's really nice that you know when to let it go and let your kids have their lives.
But you need to find the strength within the child because she may not be good in track or want to do track, but she may be good in another sport. So you need to try and help her find, you know, what her strength is, where she's
the passion, good. Whatever, yeah, exactly. New passion.
We tried a lot, Dylan. We tried ballet, but she's really tall though. So long jump, I realized, and I'm like, we can coach her into that. The coach is like, okay, she's super tall. She can high jump probably. She can long jump, and she likes basketball now, and that's her thing. So I'm like, then we'll take basketball.
Oh, but I don't think you were really listening. He said, find the gift in the child. She's a really great artist.
Yeah, so we find, no. We're looking at not academic stuff, we're looking at
well he's saying that they may not be athletic. They may be academic.
Okay, the child is athletic too. Okay, I found that. Thank you. Okay.
You're not athletic, but she may be very good in something else. Support her where she's strong and don't know.
Yes.
Because that
I agree.
Talent may have been in being artistic and drawing. So just give it support.
I agree. Good words, Delon. Good words.
The other thing I wanted to say that I recognize about kids. I mean, I don't know don't be offended in any way. I don't know how much of you guys have young kids, but our kids nowadays, they behave like they're privileged. Nobody want to work hard for anything anymore. As a matter of fact, they feel it's your obligation as a parent to provide. So while we was going to get up and work hard to accomplish what we want, what we need, as a matter of fact, I think I'm happy with how my parents brought me up because they caused me to be really hungry and want to accomplish a lot more. Mm-hmm. So I'm eager every day to go out and work hard to accomplish something. Our kids nowadays is not like that. I mean, with regards to sports and me being successful, there's always a saying that nobody knows the story behind the glory. But I remember when I trained in school, I was also training in the morning, just like Ova mentioned a while ago, 4 and 5 or 4 to 6 before I go to school. Wow. And then when I do training in school and I come back in the afternoon, I was also doing another training by myself between 5 and 6 or 5 to 7 again. So these are the discipline that you need to have as an individual, depending on how far you want to go and what you want to accomplish. So a lot was done from my end individually, just pushing myself to accomplish, a lot more. But now it's like you as a parent always have to tell a kid, you need to do that. You need to do that. I mean, a lot of kids are not going to willingly get up and do stuff because they want to do it to accomplish something. It's like they always need that little handle, that little support. You want to go do lifestyle. Well, so I think we as parents need to recognize what we do now. Because if you don't change the pattern with regards to how you grow your kids, you would cripple them and you may kill a lot of the talent and potential that they have. So we need to be looking at that.
I 100% agree with you. It's how we grow our kids now, because the kids now, we give them a lot of distractions. They have a lot of distractions. They have the phone, the iPad, the computer, the TV. Now the TV has a cable and all, lots for them to do. And I remember there was an advertising here for having your kids participate in outdoor activities, and the mom had to schedule a meeting. The son was looking at his day timer. I have games at whatever, my computer, so and so and so. I'll see if I could slot you in around 5. It was a funny ad because he had so much distractions. He didn't have time to go walk with his mom. He had a lot. So we work very hard to give our kids a comfortable life, and that we give them too much cushion. So that they're not motivated to do anything because we set them in a default of comfort.
Yes.
So yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and I agree with that. We have to be more mindful to have some balance in our kids' life.
Delon, can I ask you a question? I'm going to go right back. So I'm going to slide past parenting back into track. Okay. So when you, I know it's parenting track. When you were doing track, so when you transition and you realize, they recognize that Delon has a lot of talent. In terms of your equipment and stuff like that, I know you were saying, at this stage, it'd be nice if business places can invest in children and stuff before they make it. So thinking about your life though, so you're pretty good, your teachers recognize you really fast, you're training, you're doing a lot on your own. In terms of, because I remember I ran with running shoes and barefooted sometimes, right? Depending on how I felt that day. Right. So you're at a different level now, you need spikes and all those things that athletes do. Who provided that for you? You had to go and ask for that, or they recognize, okay, this kid is fast. We got to give him some different kind of training, some different accessories and stuff like that. Or you had to be your advocate for those things.
No, basically, I remember advocate for those things and had, you have parents and you have families overseas who you would ask for that. And they would try to provide it for you. Outside of that, really, the schools, I remember to the latter part of my years in Saass, they started getting the Alumni Association to kind of support with regards to uniform and spike. But junior tender ages, your parents need to provide those for you and give you that support. I mean, as an athlete, even if you walk into a business place and you ask for something like that, nobody's going to even recognize you or consider you. Because back then, it takes the school to present the athlete, or it takes the sports association to present the athlete and say, hey, this guy has potential, or this young lady has potential. And I think we strap her with cash. We need to help her to do her gym, and her gym per month is, let's say, $800 a month. And we need to get some equipment for her that was going to cost about $5,000. We're asking kindly if you can assist. So if it was not from that backdrop where you have the sports association, or you have the school making that representation on behalf of the athlete, it would not have been something that was going to be a goal if the athlete themselves really ventured out. I mean, if it happened, it would have only happened. But obviously, it would be much more forceful, much more powerful if it came from that background of a sports association or a school.
Has it changed because now your son is currently a current athlete? Has anything changed, or do you still have to provide his preliminary stuff?
Well, I think it has changed a bit, because after you get to the point where you recognize that regionally and internationally the kid is doing a lot better, the association kind of gravitate to doing some of the supporting with regards to some equipment and all that, because they recognize. And then you have the Olympic Association has these funding agencies that would provide for athletes. So once they identified a few athletes that is going to represent, at some point they start providing the funding and so for them. So I think it's changing slightly. We're not totally there yet, but I believe we're getting there.
So the athletes get called into a camp, let's say 3 months prior to the event, and they're provided with their food, clothing, equipment, and stuff like that.
Well, it wouldn't be everything. They might assist, let's say, with regards to the gym fees. They may assist with the attire, the uniform, and so they would assist with that. But outside of that, with regards to the nutrition and stuff like that, as the parents there, you would still do that. I mean, if it's a case where they're coming in with a full package, what you need is the athletes to get that full package and that full support.
Yes.
So you look at everything in totality and you decide to support that athlete in total. If that happens, I think that's where we would want to see things go. And that would even motivate more young athletes to get into track and sports, because then they feel, if I were to do well and need to continue, then at least I have that base where we're going to be getting the support, and not my parents fighting to work to earn salary, take half of that to help support me. Because that could be demotivating as well. If I know my parents is trying very hard, single-handedly on their own to provide for me, the basics. Yes, still I'm going out into sports, I'm asking them to provide for gym fees and gas and all that, which is generally expensive. It makes you feel, listen, you know, I love my mom, I see how hard she works. I'm not going to burden over that. I'm not going to put more pressure on her, so I'm just going to switch off. So now you end your sporting career early because you don't want to pressure your parents who you think you're going to be, putting that burden on financially.
Yeah, I've heard of athletes that's done that. They've given, because they figure it would have been too much pressure on their parents, and they had younger siblings too. So they self-sacrificed for that.
Sorry, could I ask Delon a question? Because I didn't follow your career, step by step. Were you one of the athletes that did you study away? Like, were you in university away or college away too? I know a lot of athletes now some of them go away on scholarships and stuff.
Well, actually, I'm made Grenadian in actual fact, and I'm proud of that. Just when I finished Olympics, there was 1 or 2 opportunities for scholarships then. But I'll tell you what, the risk factor for me was that there were previous athletes like the Ashton McSween, the Shaman Ross, the Von Janais, and those people who went ahead before me who were given part scholarship. Now, I think Ashton McSween would have been a perfect example, where his scholarship was a part scholarship, and the government was supposed to be contributing a part and his parents the other part. And somewhere along the line, a lot of things went wrong. I don't know exactly what it is, but he ended up in a situation where the parents was forced to do a lot more than they had to do. And that created for the parents and also him. I mean, I know how that could be frustrating for him with regards to, whatever, you fighting to study, to focus, but you know that the government was supposed to be doing X and they didn't hold their end of the bargain. I know your parents have to do it. So I think that didn't go too well. So when I heard those stories and I recognized that people went to school, left school, who ended up working in a bakery to survive in the US, I'm like, listen, I don't have time for that. I grew up with enough nutmeg and banana. Any given day, there's mangoes, I could be good, am I right? And I'll put my parents to that. So let me stay home, further my education, do whatever I need to do, continue, sports in the region and make myself comfortable. So I basically deflected from gravitating towards the scholarship then. 2 things happened. And I thought it worked in my favor. When I got the opportunity, there was the SAT exam that had to be done. And they only did it every 6 months. And I think the SAT went a month before. So I had to wait like another 5 months to get SAT done. And within that time, I then applied. I went into the force as a police. So I was in there for like 2 years. And I just lost it. I just focused on Grenadian and just forgot doing the SAT after that 6 months come along. And I just decided, listen, I'm going to stay home and be comfortable and not go there to see any trouble or to put my parents under any financial pressure.
So I'm just learning something new. You were a police for a little while.
Of course, I was a police officer for 2 years.
I forgot that. And
the police basically, and I think that's where myself and Eugene, became closer because at the time, the police had a good sports, regional sports program that every year they'll be competing in different countries because there's police games that you go to all the different countries regionally and compete. So that was one of the things that caused me to gravitate towards the police to continue competing regionally because as athletes, what you need is a competition to keep competing competing to make you a better athlete. And so for that reason, I kind of swayed in that direction.
So I just need to ask then. So you went to Saass around 85 and you ended in 89 or you ended in 90?
I think it would have been around 85, 86, and then like 91, 90 there about,
Okay. And so when you were an athlete in 92, you were out of school already.
No, 92, I was still in Saass.
Oh, you were still in Saass.
Yeah, so it would have been 86 until like 92.
Okay.
Mm.
We have to get these things clear because we want people to know
Right.
who you are and how the road was, the road you traveled.
Right.
So now you come back in 92, you're back in Saass.
Mm-hmm.
You have your exams to do.
Right.
And school's finished. So the only alternative for you to continue with the games was the police. And so why you left the police? If it's okay to discuss.
You know, you get in there and you recognize that, again, as an athlete, you're hungry for success, you want to win, and you get in there and you recognize, hey, this is crawling a little bit too slow because, you know, and, you know, for some reason, it is a little bit too slow for me. Okay. So at that point, I decided, listen, I know I've got greater potential. I know I could do a lot more, rather than just sit for 8 hours, sometimes doing nothing. And I'm like, okay, you know, I need to do something a bit more.
It was a challenge. So,
I mean, the experience in itself was good because what I loved about the police was the training, and then the fact that I got the opportunity to compete regionally and represent the police and raise Grenada again. But at the same time, when I look at myself, you know, individually, I mean, you definitely have to do that every now and again. You need to look into yourself and see what you really want and decide, well, listen, is this good for me? Is it the best for me? And then I recognize, listen, I need to venture out because I could do a lot more. And I have no regrets for venturing out when I did.
Okay, so maybe tell us a little bit about where you are now. And in terms of, as much as you want to tell us, I know how, speaking to athletes, calling myself an athlete, I know we set goals and we work towards it. And it happens when we accomplish that goal, we set another goal and we keep moving the goalposts. Where are you? Are you happy where you are? Are you where you want to be? We know you've discussed that being an athlete, being an Olympian prepared you for where you are now and the success you've accomplished so far. Where are you now?
Where am I now? Basically, I'm an entrepreneur. So I do work with insurance company, GTM, and have been working with this company for the last, 20 years. So I'm presently the sales manager of that company. But during my stint with that company, I actually opened an auto shop 10 years ago. Because for me, I've always believed that there needs to be a plan B. I mean, I've seen too much in life. I've read too many books. I've seen enough that makes me realize there needs to be a plan B and sometimes a plan C. So what I did, I actually opened an auto shop 10 years ago. But just when I did that, because I'm from Grenville, I recognized that the company that I worked for, there was no offices in Grenville. And I thought, you know what, I need to do something for my Grenville people again, because I kind of go back to that all the time. That's why I started my auto shop in Grenville, whereas I could have, I could have started it in St. George's. Mm-hmm. Traffic and all of that. But it's like you want to be committed to bringing something back for you people.
Back, yes.
Mm-hmm. If we sit and do not make an investment in our parish, it means our parish itself is going to die. So I believe in being that individual that could make a contribution to development of home. So I then made a representation and a proposal to the board of the company and suggested that we need to put an office in Grenville. And that was approved. So I also set up an insurance office in Grenville. So there's an office, a GTM office in Grenville that is also owned by me. It's the Delon Felix agency. I just do everything on behalf of the company. So I have the auto shop, I have the insurance agency in Grenville. And now I'm in the process of relocating them, because what I did, I was renting for the last 10 years. But now I purchased a property just as you pass Longwell, entering Subies. So I'm actually in the process of finishing the buildings now. So that's going to be the new house for the two, businesses. So I'm going to be relocating them.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I have
Wow.
a question.
You're leading the way. Go ahead, Andrea.
Just to go back to the athletics for a little bit. Dylan, do you think that we have narrowed our field in the athletics just for running and jumping, and then just think that that's all we could do as locals? Your son is now swimming. Congratulations on that. Do you think, when I think about Grenville, as you were just speaking about, we could also talk about introducing like rowing into athletics from Grenada?
Right. Well, the thing about it is, again, is exposure. At that tender age in school, you're not exposed to things like that. So it means that they would need to add things like that to the curriculum. So, you have sports, you have athletics, and then you have swimming. But swimming in Grenada, again, is more like the elite group because it's an expensive, just
I heard that, yes.
very expensive. Because you need to pay swim fees to the coaches to use the pool. And the only pool is in St. George's. So already you see the division. Now in Grenville, they started doing a little bit of swimming and then they need to use the beaches. And now Grenville don't really have a beach per se, because now the seaweed that comes in the whole
Yeah.
So that's a disadvantage to our Grenville people. But yes, I do believe that if we want to have an introduction of other sporting in Grenada, it can be done, but it has to be injected from that standpoint in the schools, where you have the from the government standpoint through the sports association, inject some of those things into the schools, and then we try to get them, get the athletes to be interested in them, and then you could move to that other level with them. But for now, people gravitate on what's available. So what we know in school, growing up and still present, is football, cricket, athletics, basically table tennis, lawn tennis, and then you have swimming just for the selective few who can manage to.
The reason why I asked the question is that Barbados this year in the Olympics, they had a representation in yachting.
Right.
4 years ago, the young lady who participated this year, her brother participated.
Right.
And I think I think about the yacht club that we have in Grenada. What could we do to spur our young ones to get involved? I know it's very expensive and it's an elitist sport,
Right.
but what could we possibly do to encourage young athletes to pick up the sport?
Well, I know there's what you call the sailing festival in Grenada with the yacht. These people do the boat yachting and that kind of stuff. So I think, again, every sporting field has different criterias and times and all that, qualifying times and all that. So I think what would have to be done basically is that in every discipline, the people look at the potential that they have, the leaders of those associations, look at the potentials that they have and see if it really meet that prerequisite, meaning that criteria for qualifications, and then channel it in that direction. Because if you see somebody that has tremendous potential, you would really want to help them or guide them in that direction to qualify, to get to the highest level of the sporting arena. And I would hope that is happening. But I know that we do have people here who do yachting and other stuff like that. And maybe some is good with regards to international standards, I don't know. But once I think we have people with that kind of standards, then all we need to do is just guide them and channel them in direction. But it would have to be done from the association standpoint.
And again, that calls for what we were speaking about earlier, strategy for not just athletics, but for sports in general, for developing the athlete, every possible athlete. So it's not just you running off and sailing and trying to find out what the requirements are, but a national strategy that looks at sports across the board and find people to fit into those arenas, as opposed to you trying to work your way up all by yourself. It's difficult sometimes.
Well, the thing about Grenada, I don't know about the rest of the Caribbean, is that we don't see sports as an industry. Sports is an industry, and it's an industry that brings in sometimes in some countries like Spain, up to about 80-90% of their GDP. And we have that much potential in Grenada where sports can be one of our, pillars in terms of economic development. I look at the Virgin Islands and stuff now, they advertise sports tourism. So, we have to look broader. I want to say, when you see my head down, Delon, I am making notes. So I apologize if it looks like I'm not listening. I'm listening and I'm writing notes. I was just actually, when we talk about supporting the athletes, I was thinking a name for the program. It's going to be called SAAP, SAP, Support, Sponsor and Athlete Program.
Nice, coin it. Copyright. But hold on, Delon.
Right.
I like that. I want to talk to, because I know we diverted, because you were talking about your personal business accomplishments. And dude, I'm sitting here remembering you as a little boy, and it's funny because, and I know we're all older now, but to see people's lives, that the things, you know, when you think about us as kids, and then you move forward 40 years after, and you see, wow, this St. James boy, right? And I'm not using it in a negative way. I'm just saying, because you are a St. James boy. So congrats to you and the potentials we don't see in people. I mean, when we're growing up, but thank God we all have it in us, right? As you said. So congrats to you. And because you're in insurance, and that's my thing too, you know, my passion and where I am. And I remember telling someone, well, first of all, there's very little few insurance company when we were growing up in general in Grenada. I think there was Clico. And you know, I don't know exactly what you do, but it's nice that you decided, hey, I'm going to bring some things back to my hometown, yeah, where we're from, to expose people to something else. Like there's a different career, there's more jobs. So it's really nice, because I know a lot of people from Grenville, and I probably would have been guilty of that. When I went to school in St. George's, moving back to Grenville was never my dream. I would have lived in, no, I went to college and my life started, you know, I can't even remember, because I was telling someone, I think, because I left Grenada when I was what, 18, 19, but I really think I left at 16, because once I finished convent and I went to St. George's, I don't even remember things in Grenville. I passed the St. David's route most times, or if I came to Granite, I stopped at Birch Grove and ran home. So Grenville was really cut off, you know, from, so it's really nice. So even if you're at this place in your life successfully, that you still remember where you came from, and then you're going to bring some things back and try to build your community. So good for you. Congrats on that. And, you know, I would be proud when I come to Grenada to say, no, I'm really going to say I know you. So.
No, I would hope that I would motivate you to think about investing something in Grenville as well. Because you know what hurts me a lot is that I've seen the banks been shutting down, businesses been shutting down. It really hurts me to see that is happening, because you need to recognize that there's some people who it's very difficult for them to travel to St. George's. And what I did with regards to the insurance company, for example, is like, if you don't have an office in Grenville, it means that everybody who wants to do business with this company need to travel to St. George's. I mean, now you have a lot of online programs that people, you know, could work with. You know, that one-on-one, that face-to-face is what we've known. It's just that the online is coming in now. So, I mean, I think a lot more should be done for St. Andrews, recognizing that we've got so much people. We're the second largest town, but at the end of the day, the parish is the largest, and we have more people.
The largest parish, yes.
You know, we still need a lot of people to inject a lot more.
Don't worry. I have a plan too. 3 years ago when I came for Dad's funeral, I have a plan. It's just not yet, but yes, I agree with you. We need more people to, the brain drain, the rural drain is really bad in St. Andrews. So we need to.
And I will go further and say, we as St. Andrews people need to take responsibility too. We're not very good stewards, exception, Delon, you're an exception. I was having problems remembering the names of the streets in our tongue, in Grenville tongue. I couldn't remember, like I remember Victoria Street, Sandal Street, but then I couldn't place that one by the.
I don't know the name of any of them. I know where Lacqua was. I use landmarks, Bola, Lacqua, with the Ventu Pharmacy. That's how the banks, yeah.
Just use the cricket pitch, the ball on both ends, and then you had the batsman, which is batsman.
Miss Bats.
Miss Bats. The batsman. I don't even know Miss Bats is. Where is Miss Bats?
Miss Bats is
like that before. You had bowler, ends, two bowlers, and then you had a batsman in the center. So people refer to Grenville like that. I mean, obviously, it's not that way now, but you know.
But that's amazing. We had the bells. Patrick Simon's mom, and then Miss Bell with the store at the corner there of
the bookstore. Patterson Bookstore.
Yeah. You see, but now things are evolving. So those buildings, these people are going older, and obviously they're selling out and stuff like that. So I think
Right.
what you guys need to do is find out about those places that are selling. You guys need to invest and buy them. Get
Yes.
investors on the outside to invest in them. And
We'll
then you
talk
can
to
start
you.
to open new stores and bring life
Right.
to Bentonville, introduce new products and all that.
And
too.
the face of the city of the town needs to change a bit. So it look a little, yeah, it a little beautifying and with newer things. But it's coming. The 50th anniversary is coming, and all the things are going to come.
Well, yeah, and I think for me, one of the first project, which I think it's the easiest for me to do, is to get street names put up, the name put up. I remember Sendall Street being, well, Hutchinson Building, maybe not even a Hutchinson Building anymore, by the police station there. It used to say Sendall Street, right?
Then Patterson was the one running between, well, the Ventus store to the pool area there.
There's a street name on that street. See, I didn't even know.
Yeah, when we were younger, the names used to be on the buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know I only discovered the Cortez when I went home 5 years ago?
The
The
what?
courthouse.
Yes. It was shameful.
And you went to school in Grenville. You went
And I did go to school.
take the bus every day in Grenville.
I never paid attention. I think the sign was small. I think it's the signage. I never.
Yeah, the
and it's
signage
really
is
shameful.
small. Yeah.
Wow, wow.
Okay, so
Do you know the mark? Do you know what the
That's
market
another
is?
topic.
Okay.
I wanted to say to you guys that when you guys finish this program, also go on Facebook and look for Harmony Cottage, because that's another business that I have in St. George's.
Harmony Cottage.
Hamlin.
Cottage.
Harmony, Harmony.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Right. So that's another business that I have in St. George's, where you can rent to do any event, birthday parties, weddings, whatever.
Wow.
Swimming pool parties and all of that. So you guys could go look at that and market that, right?
Yes, yes.
You're doing it right now. You're doing it right now. That's amazing. You know?
Like, honestly, Delon, I would say you didn't get a golden Olympic, but I can see the drive that you had, that drive and passion, because forget the gold. Dude, your drive is still there. Good
You
for
still
you.
won.
Congrats.
You still won.
I remember the days when my mom used to call me crazy because she thought, when are you going to stop? You always venturing to do something. Mom, leave it alone. When she recognized everyone turns out to be successful, she gets to the point now where she recognizes, if I say to her I'm doing something tomorrow, she knows it's going to be done anyway. So she just leaves me.
How is she doing?
Wow.
Oh, she's good. She's good. Yeah.
Bless the Lord.
Minded as usual. She's all right.
I am feeling truly proud, like I'm your sister.
You can say that. I don't think he has. He has none.
Yeah, you have no sisters. So you can.
I have no sisters on my mom's side, but I do have a sister.
On your dad's side. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Who lives in Tobago, yeah.
Okay.
Every Grenadian had a sibling.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Put a finger on that statement right there.
Yeah.
Well, except us.
Yeah, most
Grenadians had a sibling in Tobago, Trinidad.
I have a Grenadian friend that said to me, Grenadian men and dad now has come so far, and I do believe that they pay attention to their families. They, not before, they didn't just have family for notches on the belt. They actually love and care for their family. We can see that with Delon. Like,
yeah.
And
they have
think of your family.
They have indoor puppies now.
Yes, they have dogs.
Dog, Delon, do you have a dog?
I mean, it's shocking that you asked that question, because I grew up not liking dogs, right? And then I got to the point it happened within the last year, that I got to the point that I saw a little poodle and I decided I love it. So I bought it, and it happened to be a female. And then I wanted I got this female poodle, and now I took it to mate, and then I got 7 puppies, and now I'm into taking care of dogs and making sure.
The kids grew up. He's lonely. He's into taking care of the poodles.
That transformation process for me was a shocker, because I really didn't like dogs.
So experiences with dogs on St. James Road has a problem, I think. Those dogs that run after to chase after us.
You know what? But I've been noticing Grenadians are going through a shift in love of pets, like indoor animals. And Delon and he's a strong man, taking care of poodles. Delon, we just told the whole of Grenada that you have poodles and you're taking care of them.
The world maybe too.
He's a confident man. A man's man can do anything he wants.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Delon, we're coming to a wrap up time. It's been amazing. Nothing ever goes how I plan it. I had your times, all that stuff, the events you participated in and all that ready, but we feel so homely with you, and I hope you don't take offense to that.
To have you guys, and I feel very comfortable talking to you all.
Because we knew him as a child, that's why.
Yeah, we're so proud of you.
I'm sure I seen him in the spout at some point bathing, but I'll say it's with clothes.
In Den River.
In Den River. Yeah, his mom liked Den River. Then he went to Den River. You realize that we went to Rollo.
Yes.
Yeah, we went to Rollo.
So Delon, is that where your son got the love of swimming from, Rollo or long arm?
No, that's PT2. PT2 had a nice swimming pool.
My son doesn't even know. If I said or Rollo, he wouldn't even know that.
Oh man, you got to bring them back. Put him on the spout. He may have some.
There's no Den River anymore, so that's a defeated purpose.
Sorry, Ava, there's no pool in the rivers anymore.
It's a defeated purpose.
Yeah.
Damn it. So Delon, you
child will get hurt.
Yeah. Okay, Delon, break a ciggin.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put it in his eye though. You just wanted to get the experience. Let it touch his hand.
No. Actually, he has the experience of Mount St. John because you have Mount St. John. So what I did.
Yes, your grandfather had landed.
To Mount St. John. They needed to see what my dad did, which is their grandfather. Mm-hmm. And then they also need to see what I used to help my dad do, pick up the nutmeg and all of that. And had to put the cat on our heads, but bag don't fall. Because when you're crossing the drains, if you fall in the bag, you can't put it up yourself. You need to give those kids those little experiences too that let them recognize that you're not just who you are now, people see you to be.
Yeah.
More when you come through, a lot of hardship and hard work.
And the process of being Delon, yes.
You guys went to pick up nutmeg? Delon never struck me like a nutmeg kind of guy.
You never see them with their buckets?
And nutmeg and fig. You remember when Mr. Uton had the banana field and the coconut?
Yes, across from you.
No, up the hill.
Up the hill, he had it up the hill. And he had down the hill too.
I remember coming from school and going and help them, drug bananas for $20.
Wow.
You got paid?
Yeah.
I paid $20.
Dude, you were always a businessman.
When I help people jug bananas, the most I got was a few bananas.
You need to teach her. Delon, you need to teach those kids home.
Back then I wanted money because, I think everything adds up. You need money for break. Those times I'm running, so I need to buy a little protein. Sometimes you're buying malt and thinking you're getting more strength from malt and all that.
No. It made us think that malt had something strange, just sugar.
But Delon, you never walked home from Methodist. You used to take Johnny bus, right?
Of course.
I don't think I ever walked to school. I always took Johnny bus, and I think.
So you don't have the bread and butter, the 25 cent bread and butter.
No. When he became famous, he stopped taking Johnny bus in the name of he had to stay to practice. So then he used to take the Ladik bus and walk the distance. He had to practice after school, so he missed the 4 o'clock Johnny bus.
I must say, from what I heard, Delon, I wasn't home when you were in your prime as an athlete, but I heard there was a lot of traffic coming St. James way, feminine traffic. Maybe the Ladik bus was just an excuse to walk somebody, so somebody could walk you home.
No, I leave that for over to speak about. I wouldn't say anything on that.
You know what, though, Delon wasn't, because I think, Delon, and I could be wrong, you were married because, I'm going to call it, well, I don't know if I can call the person's name, but I know you were with one girl most of your life. Mm-hmm. And I believe that you have some children with her, you guys were married or you are married or something like that. Right. So Delon was the guy, Delon was the adult, not adult couple. Because this dated this girl like forever, it seems like.
Yeah, that's what I know him to be one girl.
Yeah, he was really, and what I want to ask, and I know we're wrapping up, because you're getting famous now, and you're still dating this girl. Because now all kind of girls
and she's not an athlete.
Yeah, like, you know, and you're traveling Caribbean islands, you're going to St. George's, as you said, the high school girls in them, now they start seeing you, and ton girls always look desirable.
Right. That was the point. If you guys recognize, I said before, you need to be focused. So
yeah.
My biggest supporter, she was my biggest fan, and she helped me to stay focused, because once you start looking at too much girls, then you get distracted. You don't train as you should. You need to make time to talk to this one, make time for this one. My eyes on this one individual, and that caused me to stay focused and do a lot better than, you know, get distracted with other ladies. So that helped actually.
Good job. Good job.
Good job.
I mean, she was very pretty too. I think he wasn't going to leave anyways, right? He landed. He scored well to start. But no, good for you. You know, not get it. I mean,
I'm proud of you. We're really proud of
but
you.
Still staying that, you know. And
we're
very proud of you, Delon. We're very proud.
But I was gonna quickly ask too. I mean, kudos to your parents as well. I mean, I said kudos twice in the same. Sorry, congratulations to your parents.
A teenager.
I was gonna ask about your diet, because that's why I asked about taking the bus home, because most athletes on the way home, or most students, you stop off at Bovary shop or somewhere to buy, Miss Rush, you buy a bread and cheese or bread and butter or bread and piece of salami. What's it, 25 cents?
Not Bovary, the one in the junction. You're aging yourself. Miss Lewis shop is where we stopped off. She's aging herself, Dua.
No, that's what she knew.
Remember, we were behind her. She was before us.
Yeah. Nobody stopped up at Bovary shop.
Dada, nobody.
Oh, Miss Rush only sell kerosene then and fruits.
Pigtail.
Oh.
Shorty pigtail.
So ask him about Miss Louis' shop. That's probably what you can tell.
Yeah, but I mean, with regards to dieting, basically, as you're growing, at that age, really, you know, you're gonna have a little, you know, at that time we used to be using that cake, that 25 cents cake, which
rubber donkey.
You have a little bit of that now and then. You can't run from that. But as an athlete, you know you can't be drinking all the carbonated stuff, because you know you learn that early, so you refrain from the carbonated stuff. So I remember I didn't want to.
I'm shocked. You knew that.
You knew that?
You knew that early. So he's like, you know, try not to drink too much carbonated stuff and all of that. So we kind of avoid that. And, you know, you just try to maintain, you know, good dieting by doing a lot of fruits and all of that. Obviously, that is an expense game again. So while you know what is the right thing to do, you only do what you were able to do within your own means.
Yeah.
And you get home now and mom has this big plate of oil down and
right.
So you're eating, obviously. But then you also let moms know that you expect to eat X or Y. So she will provide when she has it. But you know, mom is not good enough of a way to get anything to provide for you separate.
Just for you.
In the first place, they didn't think track would get you anywhere. They didn't see it as a means to, you know, a career or something. So.
I like the point that mom's not gonna go get out of a way to go get you just whites this morning. Cook the 12 eggs she has for you. When she has 3 other boys to feed with the 12 eggs.
But I think too, Delon, generally, because you had access to good calories and good carbs, like a lot of dasheen. So you had
and the watercress.
Right. So we had good nutrition. Generally, we had good nutrition. So you had those good nutrients that your body needed to help you to sustain good muscle
and they had a cashew nut tree.
Yeah.
So
where?
So
right between them and the spout on the edge.
That one that used to be the yellow one. The yellow one.
So the other areas in which maybe you needed to make up on you had a good foundation with nutrition.
Yeah. Because remember, we used to be going and we used to go on the orange tree from Bellevue there. From Bellevue, right? Where Mr. Guniswap used to be looking after the.
You went up there? Whoa, Delon, I'm learning things about you.
Mr. Gunny would not be happy if he watches this video.
But again, as young boys, you dare to experience. So we're taking the risk. We know he's bad for his orange, but we were taking the chances. So we did a couple of times and we escaped.
So who were your friends growing up? You had brothers, so you didn't really need other boyfriends. Chums.
Male friends.
But those guys one of my brothers, and then you had Clifford, you had Otto, and then you had Kevin.
Clifford, brave boy. He used to be an athlete too. Yeah.
Who's Clifford? Oh,
brave boy up the street. Let me say so.
Montero.
Clifford. Wow, I forgot that
Clifford,
name.
brave
Thanks,
boy.
Delon. Sorry.
Yeah, he lives in Miami now, and then you have Kevin and those guys. So those are the guys. But you have the Kim Fullerton and the Sammy Wells from La Digue as well. So those are the guys. With Derek Walcott, who he wasn't into sports, but those guys were just within.
They talk you into everything.
They talk me into everything. Pretty much.
Wow.
All right then. So, this was a fun. I am dizzy with romance right now.
Yeah.
You're dizzy.
I wanted to stay longer, but people may find we're too indulgent in especially being our own local to go beyond,
They wouldn't get it.
Yeah. And Andrea's suggesting a St. James Ladig reunion. So
They'll get it.
Just Ladig reunion.
That would be hard because if you just put St. James Ladig people from wherever they are to come back home, we might sing Grenada. Every day will be Sunday.
You know what? I think we should just have an episode on Johnny Bus.
Oh,
yes.
Yes.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Dylan, were you ever banned from the high seat?
Of course. You're banned from the high seat. When Johnny says you can't go there, you can. But I always like sitting at the back because you know what I like doing? You remember he always needs somebody to put the chalk behind the back wheel. I like to go do that, So sometimes they should be in the back hopping off and put the chalk. And then there's times when he said, no kids in the back, come in the front. So whenever I go to the front, I'm right behind his back. But the advantage to that is that I learned to drive early because I would look at him
watching what he's doing. He's clutching that thing.
Dylan, you're a man. You were focusing all.
Yeah. Earning $20 from Mr. U-turn, learning to drive from Johnny, scheming Johnny by staying in the back to put the chalk.
Taking the oranges by Mr. Gunny Swap.
I know. You better tell Mr. Swap you're sorry. You better.
No. The long Grenada say if you suck it there, it's okay. As long
Did
as
you suck it there, Dylan? Did you suck it there?
Yes.
Still a few fruits like plums or oranges from somebody, then you lost it.
On the Grenadian.
So I remember we were doing a lot of that. Plums and oranges were stolen all the time.
Oh man.
Honestly, and it's how far you would travel to do it. Like I remember my uncles and I'm going down to Preference.
Yeah.
St. John for mango.
You know what, Dylan, this is totally off topic. But I know we're ending, but since we're romancing and we're not just romancing you as an athlete, I'm gonna bring you back to your grandmother. Did you remember your grandmother was the first person in St. James to have a TV?
It was like
a video.
That was one of my questions.
Your parents and my parents and everybody else should shower and go up on Sunday evenings in the evenings to watch the show.
They throw on their sweater and they're gone up to watch theater at your grandmother.
Yes, I remember that.
Theater at Miss John.
Yep. Yeah,
and kids weren't allowed.
No, and sometimes I'm coming down from St. James like late in the night, and you're trying to see because the whole wall, you remember her house was down, and I'm trying, you see the little light coming through the louvers, right? Because people in front of the door, people through the...
Yeah, it was a big crowd. Yeah. And it was all couples, older couples.
Yeah, that was their thing. They're going up in the evening, everybody showered.
Yeah, going up to watch movies.
So when your children are feeling privileged, just remind them,
Went through.
Well, I mean, that was a privilege. Our grandmother was the first to have
First,
TV.
yeah.
And she was so forward thinking in that it wasn't just for her own good.
When she
It was
came
the
back from
neighborhood.
England, she
was
came
a
back from
community
England,
thing.
right?
She came from England, but she was also very given because even not just in television, remember she was also one of the first persons in St. James who had a refrigerator.
So, yes, the ice. I know.
the
I had to
ice.
walk up to get the ice.
By Miss John, yes.
Go get some ice by Miss John.
John, yeah, to get something cool to drink. So I mean, she really did, it actually remind me of that. It's like, yeah.
What was her name?
Edna.
Was
Miss John all her lives.
Well, that's her husband's name, John Felix. So she was Miss John.
Oh, so she wasn't even Miss John. It's Miss Felix?
Yes, she's a man's wife. She automatically became Miss John. They call your mom Miss Russell. That's what her name was, Miss Russell. Mr. You lose yourself when you get married.
Her husband would have been John, so that's where she had the Felix John. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So Dylan, then I could trace this back to see where you get your business skills
giving
from,
stuff,
right?
yes. Giving back to your community. We understand where.
Right, because my grandmother would have been selling the ice and selling, giving people
snow ice.
No, and another thing you didn't know, before the ice and all those things, they used to have ripe banana.
Mm-hmm.
And when I guess they come from the land, she had a big tray. She used to put it out by the road. So Auntie
I remember that.
Take some ripe fig. So we always the tacty ones. You take some tacty ripe bananas. Yeah. So the tray was always there. So whoever passing could just take a few tacty ripe bananas.
Right.
On the way up or down.
So I have to bring it back to the athletics again. So Dylan, I remember your dad used to work on the airport.
Yes.
How was it for you when you came home from one of your games and your dad was there? What was the reception like?
I mean, it has always been a very warm welcome because by then he has his entourage with him because everybody or whatever. So once I get off the plane, they'll be meeting me on the tarmac, and it was just nice. It would have been him and his colleagues welcoming me, and I remember him always saying, "That's my son. That's my son."
Oh boy. No, Dylan, long before that he was saying that. Long before that.
So you always felt like a celebrity.
His boys.
Yeah. Yes.
Your parents were lovely people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, what I love about my parents, I recall is that irrespective that they don't have that kind of vision that we have now, but in terms of the support, it was always there. It wasn't a case where don't do this, or I think you should leave that alone. Mm-hmm. I rented out and said, listen, I want to do this, and they was like, all right, this is so much I can do here, or whatever. So there was always there, just allow me to do what I wanted.
I think what I remember most about your parents, as a kid growing up around our age, I remember your brother Ricky and my sister went to GSS together. Right. And I remember Ricky was one of the first people I could remember.
Come to Canada?
Yeah. It was a big deal.
Yeah, Ricky went to Canada. Come to Canada. It was so far.
It was like, I suppose for the 1950s when people moved to England. It was a real big deal.
Right.
So Dylan, and I know we're wrapping up, but now that Andrea said it, I want to throw this in because all your siblings traveled. Well, I think so. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I know you said you were born Grenadian, being an athlete, you trained in Grenada, stayed in Grenada. So what kept you in Grenada though?
Love for country. I'm a true patriot of the soil.
See, we can end now.
Right now, if I have to travel, I'll be outside for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but I'll be back in Grenada.
Back home.
I just love home. And I think that's why, I do whatever it takes to make sure I'm fully comfortable here. Whatever I can do to help the youth, guidance I could give young individuals, especially the young men. Right now, I'm in the process of starting what you call a men's group, because I think men are losing, that real touch as men in society. And I think a lot of people just feel it's difficult to make it in life because they always have some excuse, some story why it's difficult. And I think I just want to be able to show people the possibilities that everything is possible.
You can.
So you would be.
Yes, you can. Because it's not really difficult at all. And I mean, I'm a homegrown, meaning I stayed in Grenada, made it in Grenada. So I'm like a made in Grenada product. And I'm saying there's so much people that could do so much more by staying in Grenada. You just need to know how to work the system and be guided. And I think I really want to help guide young men, and not just young men, but young
older men.
In terms of getting to that level.
I think you'll be the ideal role model in this regard because you actually are homegrown. You were born and raised. You do all your exploits, come back home, brought them back home, bring your successes home, develop the place. Yeah. You never even say, I made $1 anywhere outside. Even if maybe you competed there, whatever you do. So I think you're the ideal person to let the average Grenadian, now even beyond the average Grenadian man, see what they can do, what they can achieve, and how much they can make themselves better. Not just them, but the rest of Grenada. Because when you educate a man, you just educate a community, because men have women, mothers, children, and of course, community and countries better for that. So kudos. Well, I don't want to say kudos. So congratulations to you. We still even more proud of you now. And anywhere we can help to support your causes, just let us know. You know, Cindy's contact. Just let us know, and we're there. We're there to help you.
Good. Sounds good.
Yeah. So you'll be Grenada's first red pill person, red pill man.
Red
because
pill
we bring
man.
all the men back.
Say that again?
Red pill is a new term now that when we bring back men to what they're called to be. And that's what he's endeavoring to do right now.
I'm going to say chocolate pill.
A good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but just coined that one. Delon, thank you so much. I would ask we're wrapping up. So can you share? Show me in, sorry, Sharon.
you know, as I said initially, go ahead.
No, I was going to tell Delon, in our family, you know, we still have track. They compete. Even my mom still wants to compete against us, and we're afraid. So in our family, we're very competitive, and I want to see the spirit continue in Grenada. So we are going to support you, and I like the idea about the thing. So we're going to be working on that. So Shamian, go ahead. In Andrea's words, let's give Delon his roses.
Let's give him his roses.
Yes. So what I want to say, because of course, as I said initially, when I overcame one day and said, it was around intercall time, I said, Delon want to go. I said, Delon, because I had never seen you run in my mind. You were just this little boy. He said, hi, Sharon, we're going to try. Hi, Delon. You were, and then you just grew up. So it tells me that in every child has a possibility for greatness, in every person. And we're happy that you were able to, with the village and your family, to foster and grow that, and that you took that on yourself to grow even bigger than we could have imagined, and maybe St. James could have imagined. And we're proud of that. If every Grenadian does that and enlarge themselves the way you have, Grenada will be such a better place. So we thank you for being such a great example, and keep teaching, keep running, keep winning.
Thank you.
Over?
Yeah, so and you know, I'm still kind of flabbergasted sitting here and looking at you and remembering, I mean, we're not far in age, and just kind of remembering your journey as a child. And I remember coming here, I think it was about 92, and looking at the Olympic. I don't know if you carried the flag, but you were tall, so I recognized you on TV. And I was so excited, like I just made some friends in Canada. I'm like, oh my God, I know this guy. Like, you know, he's like literally from my village, like his mom and I. But I'm saying all this to say that never in my wildest dreams, you know, and it's nice to see a vision start and end. And really proud of you, you know, your journey to track, to see how you meet this adult man, Delon, how you encourage your children to follow their visions and their dream, and know when to stop and when to push, and to take your life where it is now and come back to your community and help. So high fives all around to you. Really appreciate it. Really nice to, you know, I felt like I saw you yesterday. It's really nice to have this conversation, and good luck in the men's group, all these things that you're doing just to, you know, what do we call it? Chocolate pill. You know, so, and you're a true representation of chocolate pill, but just to help someone, you know, so you're not selfish in the things that you do. So good job on that.
Thank you. Andrea?
From khaki pants to full grown pants now. Remember us from Teacher Lilac School to now. It's really amazing to see the lips and the bounce that you've made. You have been called to be a well-rounded man. And the idea for the men's club, I think it would do our island a big deal. And I just want to say to you, congratulations that wherever you go, that you're a blessing to people around you and to yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I am going to, before Andrea talked about khaki pants, and I didn't want to say it all along. That's always the vision. I looked at your pictures, and in doing research on you, I couldn't take you smiling little fellow in the khaki pants to grown up you, but you just walked me through it, and I really appreciate it. But I'd like you to, if you have anything to say before I wrap up.
Right. Well, for me, I think I must say I love the initiative, and I really want to see that you guys. I don't know how far of persons that you reach with your program with regards to viewing, your viewing audience on social media, but I think it's a very good initiative. So I must compliment you guys for that and encourage you guys to do this and push it really hard, because oftentimes you do not find persons coming back to relinquish that history and make people aware, people who made that contributions before. And I think it's really good that we have a group of persons who has that passion and want to make that happen. So the viewing public in Grenada themselves should find a way that they themselves could see a lot of that, because I think a lot of people in Grenada is not even aware of our history. Because when my son made it to the Olympics, a lot of people said they didn't even realize that Delon went to the Olympics, because obviously you just keep that. You went to the Olympics, who knew that, know it, but you just leave it alone. Mm-hmm. Even that year when Kirani won the gold medal, and people was talking about the 400 meters, I was able to tell people that the same year Kirani was born is the same year I ran in the Olympics.
Wow.
Coincident. I mean, though it make me feel kind of old, but it's just history. So, right, it's really good history that people don't even know that. And I think Grenada also has a track record of the quarter mile, from me representing the Olympics in 1992 to Alain Francis thereafter, and then from was Kirani. And I think that also shows a build-up to just looking on, because I remember Alain Francis used to want to be like Delon Felix in school. I mean, whether he's going to admit it or not, but I just know he came to me personally and said, listen, man, I want to be like you. And I was happy to see that the things that he accomplished, thereafter. Mm-hmm. And close to Kirani, he has done his country well. And I say hats off to all the guys who would have done well and make it thus far. I mean, but obviously everybody can make it far. For all those who made their contribution, I think we need to congratulate them and encourage them as well. But more importantly, I think for those programs, what we need to do is basically help nurture the younger athletes. How can we see the potential in young athletes at an early age and help provide the support necessary for them to do a lot more? Because I do believe that Grenada has a lot of potential, tremendous potential. And somehow a lot of this potential is lost because it was not properly harnessed, or it was not properly identified, or these persons were not given the necessary support. So the program that you're doing is one that I think can help push people to recognize the potential out there, and also make the authorities recognize that a lot more can be done, because we have people in the diaspora that is always happy to see the Grenada flag fly at whatever height, whatever games. So I think doing that and trying to get people more in tune to what the contributions persons made before, and having the people recognize that, listen, there's people who walk this walk and done well, and you still have a lot of potential. And if we try to give you that support earlier, you could do a lot better, because recognizing that what we did would have been from raw talent with our own initiative and our own discipline. I do believe that if a lot more is done, at an early age, we're going to be in a good position. I feel really elated to be the only man among 4 ladies. I mean, I had to say that. So
that's romance.
Well, that's different, because he was always one of many men at his home. So
yeah, we gotta elevate.
is very, very, very good. I think I saw your brother, you guys' brothers in Grenada right now, right?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, yes, he's traveling today.
I think I saw him sometime last week as well, you know?
So just to borrow a terminology from Korean drama, we're taking you from the bromance, you and your three brothers, to the romance. Huh?
Right. I mean, I applaud the initiative, and I mean, kudos to you guys. I mean, great job. I want to encourage you guys to keep it up and push it as so that you could reach the wider populace. And I hope somebody could take something from it and really move it to different levels, because it's good to know that there are people out there who has that drive and passion to want to see greater things happen for persons in the community, in the country, and not forget the contribution that some people made. Just aside on a part, I was having this conversation with a national athlete recently who felt that he doesn't have the initiative to do anything further because he don't think that the government or the sports association support them enough. So you get to a point where you feel like you've made a contribution, you got the fame that you need, but nobody's helping you. So because it takes discipline, it takes time, it takes sacrifice. But after you have done so much for country, what is the country doing for you? And these are the kind of questions that people ask in their mind. So if you could try and give people that incentive to do things, I mean, make some contribution some way to help the athletes. Remember, I remember they gave Junior Moy a piece of land, a vehicle, so everybody who reaches a certain level in sport, you do some little contribution for them, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be land, it doesn't have to be, but it would be something that you could encourage them. Maybe, let's suppose you save groceries for a year or 6 months or something. Get people to really, pursue this, because there's something bigger, and show that this athlete, after he crosses a certain level, that he gets a full scholarship is enough. So if for every athlete who makes it to the Olympics, you make sure you guarantee them a full scholarship. That in itself is encouragement right there, and motivation to encourage other people to get into sports and take sports seriously, because then you can have a passport to your financial future, your educational future, and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I just meant to ask, I forgot to ask this because I tried to search, but I couldn't see. When I was in the National Stadium, I saw they had Raw Lewis, I think Junior Murray names there too. So they have, is your name there, or is it just cricketers?
No, I don't think they remember all the athletes. My name is not there. I don't think they remember people like me. So, it's good that people like you remember me, and probably people like you may cause them to remember me.
Change Methodist School name to Delon Felix Methodist School.
I think, and I'm going to put the charge on Cindy and to make this program not just a forum to bring to light what the athletes have done, but also to take it further, to make sure that they recognize a home in some tangible way.
Yep.
Maybe something that we ourselves on this panel can do, or something we can get help from a home to do, so that Grenadians could remember their history, their athletic history. So maybe a sports museum in Grenville where we can have, we'll talk about the intricacies of that, but a sports museum in Grenville, and maybe have it finished with the ribbon cutting for the 50th anniversary, so we can have it unveiled to see all our athletes in bronze and whatever colors we can have them in.
And Delon is building a new building. Maybe he could just leave.
Just charging Delon to that. Yeah, Delon could have all the past Olympians. I can charge you.
No, we can talk off camera to see how we can get that done. Yeah.
But yes, we have, as you know, from many of the other programs, lots of the athletes have agreed for us to get together and do something, especially most of the Saass athletes. They want to do something for Cressy, and they want to do something for athleticism in the rural areas. And we definitely want to have Dwight Gibbs suggested a wall of fame. So you know how when soldiers, you have this plaque where you would remember soldiers and stuff. We would have a wall somewhere in Grenville where any place in Grenada where people would go and see the people, the contributors to the community, to sports, whatever field.
So let's talk about it off camera later.
Yeah, we do have that thing till where you get nominated for the British Order, you know, some British Order or something, but it's usually might be politically biased and stuff. So this program is meant to elevate the athletes, bring forward the contributors, the people, the community builders, bring back to memory all the things we enjoyed. And as a people, in Grenada, we tend what my mom called hot love soon cold. So Delon comes back from the Olympics, his dad meets him on the airport. And if he goes home, that's the end of it. If he's not if he doesn't go out in the market, nobody's gonna say, let's go by Delon today and have a party. Let's talk something. Let me do an interview with Delon a year after and write down his history. Like nobody knows, you know, your birth date is all that's there in on Wikipedia. Nobody knows the things you like. They don't know your favorite color. They don't know what food you like. They don't know you used to fish in the river. And they don't know you. And we don't I want the show to give people an opportunity to know the athletes, know the person's character, see what you have. You have a lot to offer. Yeah. I mean, the way you speak, just listening to you is enough to motivate me or anybody to start doing things. Reach out to you and ask, is there a way? I'd like to learn from you. Can you help me in this way or that way? So, and I know every athlete I've spoke to so far want to do something, but they don't have the avenue. And it comes to the point where they're almost disrespected.
Right.
And especially if you're from a rural area, that's what I'm hearing. The common theme is full disrespect. And what you're doing in terms of raising St. Andrews and Grenville up, it's a proud moment. It's beyond anything I can imagine to describe. And I'm very happy we were neighbors. I don't think we were 20 steps from each other. You were just a river. There was a river between us. What made you St. James and us Dikwe? So, I want to thank you for being here. I'm really happy. I was really hoping you would accept, because I'm, you know, every show they say, oh, Delon Felix, and I'm Delon is my neighbor. I want to get him on because it's going to look like I'm a fraud, that I'm bigging up everybody else and I can't big up my own, you know, backyard, you know, village made kind of thing. So thank you. And I'd like to thank the viewers out there. Continue to support us. We are going to be working on stuff. My whole idea, and why I also make notes despite we're taping, is that I want to be able to write something about our athletes. Orlando, you know, Dr. Orlando Simmons, a former Saass alumni, he's promised to help me. We're going to be documenting our athletes' history. We're going to be making a history book about athleticism, Saass, Grenada sports, everything, village, and so on. So things are in the work. I know you're doing things, and together maybe for the 50th anniversary of Shami and saying we can come together and do something. Kaboom. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day. Do enjoy the rest of the week. Stay safe. Follow the protocols.
Yes.
Take care.
Tomorrow's Labor Day. Is it a holiday home? Is it?
No, it's not.
Oh,
okay. Oh yes, it's May.
I've got work.
Bye-bye now.
Okay, ciao.
Thank you all.
Nice meeting you again.
Thanks, Delon. Enjoy the day and give my regards
Be blessed.
to your mom.
To your mom and your brothers. Be blessed.
And your son. Oh, congratulations. And your wife and the
your
rest
daughters
of
and your kids. Yes, your family.
Delon,
okay. Bye-bye now.
Message me privately.
Well, you can share my number with me. You get my number from Cindy and
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Cindy, you edited this out.
Memory she wants to relive again.
No, totally unrelated.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Nice to meet you. Take care. Bye.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.